Hi, everybody. Sarah here, and I thought I would do my final for Volume 1 anyway. Stranger Things, Season 5, Episode 4, entitled Sorcerer. Again, I'll do kind of a quick recap of the episode and then what my reaction is to it. It starts off with Derek waking up in a barn. They took Derek's family to a barn because they need Demogorgons knew that they were at Derek's house, so they took him to a barn. And first thing we get is Derek waking up from being drugged. And initially they try to convince him like, "Hey, we did this for your own safety. We're the good guys. Will you go along with it?" He agrees. Joyce cuts him loose because they had them tied up in a stall at this point. And of course, he freaks out and tries to escape. While they're chasing him around the barn, they're trying to convince him that, look, we're doing this for your own good. The monsters are trying to get you. You know, Mr. What's-It has been lying to you. He's the one controlling the monsters. He's actually the one trying to get you. We're the good guys here. Please listen to us. You're going to get killed if you don't. And while they're doing that, a Demogorgon attacks. And Will, of course, senses it coming before it does. It attacks, and while it's attacking, Will again sees through its eyes. And we'll get to it a little later, but he has a vision of some other things while he's seeing through the Demogorgon's eyes. At any rate, Justin, Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy, who are out in Steve's car, see this happen, and they hit the Demogorgon with Steve's car, which injures it, and it immediately creates a portal and escapes into the Upside Down. Steve in his car sees the portal is still open, is like, should we drive through it? We could probably enter the Upside Down right here, right now. Should we do it? And so they're like, well, I don't know. And then Nancy's like, yes, do it. So he hits the gas, they drive through the portal, and now they're in the Upside Down in Steve's car. And Dustin is it also is the same Demogorgon that they shot the tracker into the last episode. So they're now in the Upside Down in Steve's car trying to track the signal and get their bearings. And of course, you can't see very well in the Upside Down. So they end up crashing into the wall. It's the same wall that Hopper and Eleven ran into in earlier episodes. And they're like, okay, what do we do now? So they radio Hopper and Eleven, very relieved to find out they're still there in the Upside Down. They're still alive. And we see that Hopper and Eleven have made it to the base. They're kind of outside the perimeter of the base, looking in, trying to figure out a way how they can get in to kill Vecna, because at this point, Eleven believes they have Vecna captured in a room in this base, which is information she learned from that soldier that they had captured in an earlier episode also. So Eleven's like, let me use my training. I'll jump over the fence and I'll get into the base, and then I'll come around to the gate and let you in and we can go kill Vecna together. And he's like, no, I don't want you to do that. I'm too afraid of losing you. Eventually, though, he realizes that this is the only plan that's going to work. And while Nancy and the others are waiting at the site where they crashed the car, 11 does make it into the base, lets Hopper in. They get into a lab where there's a scientist sitting there. They sneak up behind him. Hopper puts a gun on him and says, you're going to help us get into the room. So they take the guy's card and try to scan it through so that they can go into the hallway that leads to the door they want to get to. And it doesn't work. And then they realize that this doctor, because he tells them, of course, they realize that this doctor doesn't have the access. He tells them, I don't have the access. I don't know really what you're talking about. I just work in this area on the base. I don't know anything else. So Hopper knocks him on the head so he's passed out. And Eleven's like, okay, we got to do this my way. And so she, holds out her hands to use her 11 powers to break down the door so they can go down the hallway to where the door is that they want to get to. And immediately that sets off alarms. And of course, within the base, they have those sonic weapons that we saw earlier that incapacitate her and actually cause her physical pain. It sets off the alarm, sets off those sonic weapons. and 11 can't do anything. It's her kryptonite. There's nothing she can do about it. And with the alarms going off, of course, Dr. K then comes in with a team, and Hopper gets into a firefight with the other soldiers she brought in. He kills them all, but he walks into a room where there's a creature from the upside down that wraps him around like a snake around his neck, and it's just holding him and he can't move, and he's trying to pull it off. And so Dr. K is like, now that I have you here, let's torture you so I can get some more information about what's going on. And Hopper holds out from doing that, but the room that the creature's in, she can make it hot and cold, and the creature becomes less active when it's hot, and it becomes more active when it gets cold. So she's going to try to use this creature in the heat and cold to torture information out of him. Meanwhile, she finds 11 in the room, and 11 is like, Hopper's gonna take care of you all, and you're gonna end up paying for what you've done, kind of thing. But of course, 11 can't really do much because the sonic weapon is still going off. But 11 tries to attack Dr. K, and that distracts her enough for Hopper to be able to escape the grip of this being, that this creature from the upside down that he's being held by. And he knocks out K, and he's like, look, we have to get you out of here because, this sonic weapon is causing you all these problems. I need to get you out of here. So he breaks a window, picks her up, puts her by the window so that she can crawl out and escape. And he's going to go deal with the other thing. He's going to go find Vecna and kill him. And while he's lifting her up onto the window ledge, she sees that he's wearing like an explosive vest under his coat. And he's like, don't worry about it. That's just a backup plan. Go off and meet with the others in the upside down. I'll go take care of Vecna. And she's like, no, you're not doing that. You're not going to just blow yourself up to end all this. And so he's like, sorry, I'm going to do it anyway. So she's very weak and incapacitated from what's going on. And he gets the card from Dr. K to open the door. He goes into the hallway that leads to the other door, and he locks 11 out into the initial room that they were in. She's locked out from going into the hallway, and she's pounding on the door like, please don't do this. Let me do whatever. And then the sonic weapon is shut off, and we hear the door unlatching, and Hopper opens the door, and they both go down the hallway together. She opens the door, and on the inside, it's not Vecna, it's 8. It's that other girl like her she met when she ran away. I think it was to New York City. I don't remember exactly. When she ran away, she met that other girl that was like her, and they both had the tattoos. This girl was number 8 and she's 11. And they made a vow that they're sisters because they both have the same experience, went through a lot of the same things in life. And so they have her there strapped down and, like these electrodes on her head and stuff like that. And so she's the one that's the source of the kryptonite. And that's basically where we leave it with that storyline. Then getting back to kind of the second storyline, there's basically about 3 storylines to kind of follow in this episode. Another storyline is, of course, we get back to Max and Holly, who have now met up in the Upside Down, or the memories, Henry's memories. And Holly learns that Max is the one that sent her the letter, and she thinks Max might be one of the monsters, but then Max knows some things about her family that only Max would know, so she believes that it is really Max. And so they go into this cave that has an opening that looks over this kind of desert-like landscape. And she basically explains to Holly, like, look, we're inside Henry's memories. He's not a good guy. This is a prison. You are now imprisoned in Henry's world. And I've been trapped here since I tried to battle with Vecna in the earlier episodes. And ever since I was in a coma, Vecna's had me trapped here in this world. And she's like, I kind of gave up that there would be any way to escape until I saw that Vecna brought you into this reality, whatever it is. And so Max proceeds to tell her the story of how she started traveling through Henry's memories once she was in a coma, some good, some really bad. And she starts hearing the Kate Bush song. I think it's Running Up That Hill. I should have checked that before. But anyway, it's the Kate Bush song that she loves, and she just really connects with Kate Bush. And so while she's in her coma, while she's in this real Henry's memories, she hears that song and she starts following the music. So she starts going through several different of Henry's memories, and she ends up finally in sort of this hellscape kind of place. And she sees a portal open, and she sees Lucas sitting there next to her in a coma while this music is playing. And she's like, yes, finally my escape. So she goes to run towards the portal, and just at that moment, the tape runs out and the music stops and the portal starts to close. And also at that moment, Henry shows up and he is not happy and he's going to chase her down and get her. So Max runs from him and she goes and runs to the cave where she now lives. And Henry Vecna stops outside the entrance to the cave and gets this total absolute look of fear and dread like on his face, and he leaves her alone. She doesn't know why that place scares him. She just knows it does, and so she's set up a home there. And until seeing Holly, she had kind of given up and thought that she was just going to have to live in this place forever. So she goes to Holly and says, look, I know now you know the truth about Mr. Whatsit and Henry and all of that stuff. And so she's all very scared and everything. And Max is like, look, I have a plan, but in order to do the plan, Max never really explains what the plan is. She just says, I have a plan, but in order for it to work, you have to go back to Henry's house and pretend like you never met me. This never happened. And this is what you got to do for us to enact this plan so we can escape his prison. And that's where that storyline ends. All right, we finished out the two other main storylines. Now let me get to basically what is really the meat of the episode, which we see that Dr. K has decided to round up all the children in town because she knows that, or she believes that 11 has been kidnapping them, but we know the truth. It's really Vecna and all of that. But she thinks 11 is behind it. So they think if they bring all the children onto the base and protect them, that they'll be able to draw 11 in using the kids as bait and capture her, which is what she's been trying to do all along. They really think that 11 is really behind all of this. And so they come up with this plan to try to draw her out. Anyway, Will and the others realize that there's a bigger issue going on. Like Will, when he saw through the eyes of the Demogorgon earlier in the episode, he also had a vision of seeing these kids trapped in this structure, and they're in these cocoon-like things, and they all have these organic tentacle tube things connected to their mouths. And he sees this whole big structure and he paints it on the barn wall, and they realize that, okay, Holly is there with some other kids and that there actually is a space for 12 children. So they get like somehow he wants to capture the kids and make them a part of this structure that he saw. So they come up with a plan. Okay, how do we get these kids out? And then they realize, oh yeah, there's tunnels that go under the city all over the place. And they realize what building the kids are in, and they realize there's a tunnel that goes right under the same building that the children are in. We could tunnel under and get them out, but how do we do that? We'll send Derek in. He'll join the kids in there. He can go in there and pace out exactly where the bathroom is so they know, because they decide to go under the tunnel and dig up through the floor and make a hole in the floor and have the kids escape. So Derek shows up on base. He ends up joining the other kids in the barracks. He has a radio with him where him and Joyce can talk to each other. He basically kind of paces out like where the bathroom is in the building so they know what spot in the tunnel to stop and dig so they can get these kids to escape. But not all of the kids have been seeing Mr. What's-It, Henry. So Derek goes in there to find out which kids have been chosen by Mr. What's-It, and he starts sending them to the bathroom one at a time because the team digs a hole in the bathroom floor. So then Joyce lets Derek know that, okay, they're ready to go. So they start sending kids one at a time, and they start going down this ladder into the tunnel, and they're going to all go out the tunnels and escape in Murray's truck. That is the plan. But while kids are escaping, some plumbing gets disrupted and a pipe bursts and there's water spraying everywhere, and it's starting to flood from the bathroom out into like the barrack space. Derek sees this and is like, oh crap, things are going bad. So another kid sees the water, a kid that's not in on the Mr. What's-It thing. Another kid sees the water and is going to alert the person in charge of, hey, there's something going on. And Derek sees this and they're like, oh crap. And so all the kids just run into the bathroom and try to escape. And some of the kids end up running down the tunnel with Robin, and they end up hooking up with Murray and getting in his truck. There's a couple other kids that come later that Lucas starts running down the tunnel to get them out. And then there's a couple kids that don't make it out in the military. They manage to, after Will and Mike and Derek try to block the door to the bathroom so the kids can escape, they eventually end up getting enough military guys on the other side to burst through the door. So Joyce, Will, Mike, Derek, and some of the other kids end up being captured by the military. And Joyce is telling them, look, we're trying to help these kids. We're trying to get them to escape. And they're like, well, that's what we're doing. Of course, they're thinking the attacker is just going to be 11. And she's like, no, there's these real monsters from the Upside Down that are coming for these kids, and we're trying to protect them. And you guys aren't going to be able to do it. You just don't understand what you're dealing with. Demogorgons show up and attack, and the military guys, they're fighting them off, and they seem to be holding off the situation well enough. But then Vecna shows up, and Vecna in his form, he just uses his powers and he just takes out everybody. And he goes to come after Will. Joyce tries to protect him, and Vecna just uses his powers to lift her up and throw her to the side. And Will is laying there on the ground because while they're attacking the Demogorgons, he's feeling some of that pain or whatever because he has that connection to them. So Vecna picks up Will with his powers and holds him in front of him and says, look, I picked these kids because kids are weak in body and mind, and I need them. And you're the first kid that I was able to turn, or whatever you want to call it. And it's so easy to do. And that's why I need these kids, because some minds belong in my domain, not in the real world. And he drops Will to the ground and then returns to the Upside Down to leave the Demogorgons to finish off the job. And Will at that moment remembers a conversation with Mike, and he remembers his conversation with Robin too, and the combination of those things, he realizes that, oh, I have the power. If I can connect to the Demogorgons and feel what they feel, maybe I can reverse that connection and I can control them rather than me just kind of being sucked into having no control. Maybe I can get control of them. So he has this breakthrough moment, if that's what you want to call it, and he's able to stop the Demogorgons from attacking his friends and kill them. But unfortunately, I had forgot to mention that while Vecna was talking to Will about why he wanted the children and all of that, the Demogorgons drag off the rest of the kids to the Upside Down. Will is able to stop the Demogorgons from killing them all, and he kills the Demogorgons, breaking all their limbs using like mind powers or whatever, and he collapses, and that's how the episode ends. So Christmas Day, we're getting another group of episodes, I believe, and hopefully, I'm really curious to see where this story is going to go with Will's newfound powers. I mean, this is definitely the best episode of the first 4 episodes. I mean, this one really, I think, pays off with Will getting powers, tapping into his power. I'm really curious to see what happens when 8 and 11 are now able to catch up, because I'm going to assume that they get her to escape and her and 11 are able to maybe combine powers and defeat the foe or whatever you want to say. There's also the other children that are captured that need to be saved. It was just a really good episode. I thought the action was good. I thought the story was good. It was creepy. It was scary. We got to really find out where Max is at mentally, physically, get to learn a little bit more about how Henry is doing things, and that, okay, he has this bad memory of this place, and you just know that that bad memory of that place is going to come into play somehow, some way. But it's definitely the episode to watch of all 4 of these. But of course, you can't really watch just one episode. All of these episodes are building upon one another. But of the 4, this is definitely the best one, and I'm hoping that it can just continues to get better from here. And hopefully I can get some more of these out. Once we get the next set of episodes out, I will try to get more of these out as soon as I can. Until then, I'll see you around. Bye.